What are some plot holes so big you can drive a truck through? Every Christmas movie where no one believes in Santa, but then it turns out Santa does exist. Like, who did they think was putting presents under the Christmas tree? If Santa is real, then it wasn't them. If I ever have a kid and he tells me he saw Santa, I'll 100% believe him, because I'm not about to go on some whole Christmas movie trip only to prove he is real. C-3PO, human cyborg relations, is fluent in over 8 million forms of communication and, in fact, was built on Tatooine, yet doesn't speak Jawa? Should have a correct version of OpenJDK installed. Bart said Santa's little helper didn't eat Milhouse's goldfish and that Milhouse never had a goldfish. Then why did he have the bowl, Bart? In episode 2F09, when Archie plays Scratch's skeleton like a xylophone, he strikes the same rub in succession, yet he produces two clearly different tones. I mean, what are we to believe? That this is a magic xylophone or something? Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder. The parents deciding to each take one twin to raise on different continents and never talk to each other again. Star Wars or Parent Trap? TBF, Luke and Leia were intentionally separated to keep them safe. In the Parent Trap, apparently each parent had a favorite kid and apparently hated the other parent so much they were fine with just not seeing the other KLD again. Not sure if it counts as a plot hole, but there's one scene in Spider-Man 3 that's never made any sense to me. Peter takes a small sample of the symbiote to one of his college professors so he can get a better idea of what it is. The professor looks at it under a microscope and says it's definitely alien. I wouldn't let any of this stuff touch you. That's it? Proof of alien life brought to you by one of your students and your only takeaway is don't touch it? That's fucking insane. Oh, look, it's an alien species. Just don't touch it. In Supernatural, it's mentioned that demons react negatively to the word Christo, but the word is never mentioned again after that episode. If that's the biggest plot hole you could find in Supernatural, you must have stopped after one season. Also, it does get brought back one time in season 14. If Doctor Strange could do that portal thingy for that epic entrance, what's up with him and Stark worrying about not being able to return to Earth while in orbit towards the planet where they fought Thanos? I just wonder why they didn't use a portal to teleport the gauntlet off Thanos' hand. Like earlier in the movie, when the bad guy's arm gets cut off during the fight in New York City. The smart thing to do was literally foreshadowed, and they didn't follow through on it, lol. Shrek 2. How does a donkey duck a dragon? He just walks inside and jerks off. This also solves the how was Hagrid conceived query. I'd love to say something about Game of Thrones episode where they battle the army of the dead at Winterfell, like how they stationed the army outside the walls of the heavily armed fortress without anything to screen the approach of the dead army, or about how the artillery only had one shot before being useless, or about how ridiculous it is to charge light cavalry straight into a mass of infantry the dead when they are better at ambush and harassing the flanks warfare, or about how they wanted to draw the Night King and his dragon out when the most effective way to do that would probably be to lay waste to his army with your dragons, or about the myriad of times a character looked to have certainly died fighting whites only for it FO cut away and then we see them fine later with no explanation, or about how they decided to hide the women and children in the room with all the dead bodies when the enemy can raise the dead, or about how they hired a frigging sword fighting martial arts expert to play the Night King, only to never have him actually take part in single combat with anyone whatsoever. Like I said, I'd love to say something about that episode, but it was so dark I couldn't frigging see any of it, sorry. It still blows my mind that they shot the catapults after they sent their cavalry into the darkness. In Now You See Me Too, why and how did the FBI have any jurisdiction in London? Wouldn't that be more of an Interpol thing? But character continuity, right? Bigger plot hole is that it wasn't named Now You Don't. I always thought they missed a massive opportunity there. In Black Panther, when he falls into the water, he gets pulled out by a fisherman from the northern tribe. Later on the movie, the leader of the tribe says that they are all vegetarians. They are also completely isolated and don't trade. Why do they have a fisherman? Maybe he was a catch and release fisherman? He doesn't want to eat the fish, he just wants to make them late for something. Superman flying upwards at incredible speed to catch a person in freefall would probably cause more damage to the falling person than if they hit the concrete due to the sudden change in velocity. I'm currently watching the first season of The Boys, and they actually address stuff like this. At one point there is a meeting for people who have been hurt by superheroes on accident, and someone mentions how their spine was broken when they were saved. There's also a scene where, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, there's an airplane falling out of the sky and the Superman equivalent explains he can't just carry it to safety because the skin of the aircraft wouldn't be able to support the pressure of the aircraft's weight focused entirely on his hands, if that makes sense. They explain this in the comics as Superman having a bioelectric force field that he can extend to slow down and distribute the weight of people and large objects. Utter bullshit, but that's comics for ya. Ocean's 11. During the blackout scene, there is mad chaos in the casino. People stealing chips and just mass hysteria. Then the team goes to steal the money during the blackout. Afterwards, the lights are back on, and as they walk out of the casino, people in the background act like nothing has happened. No hysteria, just a normal casino with people gambling in a fun and jovial manner. Not related but is. In 13, after the earthquake and everybody is standing around in shock, and then dude yell come on 11, and the casino explodes in cheers and they all go back to gambling. I remember thinking, well, that was the most realistic part of the movie. Also, I know this is a ducked up take usually reserved for what terrible movie do you love? But 13 is easily my favorite Oceans. In season 2 of Dexter, Rita asks Dexter how he knew how much heroin to give her ex-husband, and deduces that Dexter himself is a heroin user. Dexter was top of his class in med school and is a forensics guy. I can't imagine it would be hard for a guy like that to figure it out. Dude was a science genius and works for the police. In Friends, Joey and Chandler watch Die Hard and refer to it as their favorite movie. In later seasons, Rachel dates Paul, who is played by Bruce Willis. Despite it being their favorite movie, they never thought of mentioning that Paul looked like Bruce Willis. In Liar, Jennifer Tilly's character gets her way in the divorce despite cheating because she lied about her age, therefore making the prenup null and void. However, this would also nullify the entire marriage, entitling her to nothing. Oh shit, this is the first response I've come across that blew my mind. This never occurred to me. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel for more curated daily Reddit stories.